Former New York City bodega worker Jose Alba is suing District Attorney Alvin Bragg and the NYPD for racial discrimination after his controversial prosecution for acting in self-defense.
So in New York City, criminals are now considered the victims. Why is that? Well, because the police are supposedly racist, the prosecutors are racist, and the laws are racist. Now, why is this? Well, this is because the left likes to play identity politics, and law enforcement was the target of these policies, especially after the death of George Floyd. See, the new view is that black and brown criminals need to be understood and not held accountable. This is why you see things like this. Here's a guy who was arrested over 100 times for shoplifting, but because of bail reform and the fact that he happens to be black, he's misunderstood, and he was released every time. And he's not the only one. Here's another person who says they are a professional shoplifter, also has over 100 arrests. This person was let go every time. Why? Bail reform. You know, it's so crazy. Listen to this person literally admit to being a professional shoplifter. Check out this clip.
When you take something, they call that petty larceny. Anything that's under $1,000 is considered petty larceny. Anything that's over $1,000 is considered grand larceny. That's why I had the felony. I had a felony for grand larceny.
That time.
I went to Bloomingdale's.
Okay.
Bloomingdale's, and I stole. I professionally obscured some items consisting of polo and Ralph Lauren shirts and pants for the winter.
Okay, and you got a pretty nice shirt on. Did you steal that shirt?
Did I obscure this shirt? I sure did obscure this shirt.
Right. Will you go stealing now? I mean, will you steal even now that you're out on supervised release?
I have to give me an outfit.
You have to what?
I have to get me an outfit.
You have to get a new outfit.
I have to get a new outfit.
Okay, so you're going to go steal it.
So I have to go work.
Work is stealing.
I don't call it stealing. I call it professional.
So these light-on crime policies in New York have sent crime skyrocketing because people are like, hey, I can do whatever I want and not be held accountable. Now, this came to a head when this worker at a neighborhood store was attacked. Here's what happened.
The incident occurred late last Friday night at Blue Moon Convenience Store in Hamilton Heights, a neighborhood 6.5 miles north of Midtown Manhattan. A woman tries to buy a bag of chips for her daughter, but her EBT card is declined. An argument ensues. The clerk, Jose Alba, takes the chips back. The woman leaves the store, returning with her boyfriend, Austin Simon. You can see Simon walk behind the counter and shove Alba against the wall. A scuffle breaks out. Alba reaches for a knife on the counter and stabs Simon several times.
So this case was clearly self-defense, right? The mayor and other city leaders came out and supported the employee who was protecting himself against this wild attacker who came into his place of business. Here's the mayor.
Earlier today, the mayor defended the clerk's actions.
What I saw on the video was a New Yorker that was doing his job. And that disruption of the job happened because someone was aggressive.
But the criminal who stormed the store threatening to beat up the clerk was black. And the DA didn't see him as a criminal, but a misunderstood person. Now, he needed to protect this obvious criminal, so he charged the bodega worker with murder, even though all the evidence was crystal clear. This was obviously self-defense.
Now, the front page story causing outrage. An elderly convenience store worker fatally stabs a man he says assaulted him. Despite claims he acted in self-defense, he was charged with murder and sent to one of the most dangerous jails in America. Here's Les Trent.
There is front page outrage over the arrest of a store clerk who says he stabbed a violent customer in self-defense.
Anything you want to say?
Fox News personalities are going all out in support of the clerk, Jose Alba.
He was in reasonable fear of deadly force being used against him. He got the knife. He did what was right to protect himself.
If a criminal decides to bust up and beat up an old man in a bodega, he might get stabbed. That's a consequence of being a criminal and screwing around with violent behavior.
Justice gone mad, says page 1 of the New York Post.
So after a huge public backlash from people saying, hey, how can you go into a store, go behind the counter, and accost the person behind the counter, push them down, grab them by the collar, and try to take them somewhere, and you can't defend yourself? What is this world coming to? What could this man have done? So the DA, feeling the pressure, dropped the charges.
One for the good guys, just in from New York City. The progressive DA here in New York has dropped the charges against that bodega worker, Jose Alba, who was accosted by this man behind the counter. Alba defended himself by grabbing a knife and stabbing him 5 times. The assailant died. Alba was sent to Rikers prison and
charged with second-degree murder.
And his bail was set at $500,000. Initially, it was later reduced. But anyway, been a lot of pressure on the DA to drop this case out of self-defense, and apparently it just happened.
But that only occurred after he was in prison and given $500,000 bail. So the bodega worker is like, yo, this was horribly wrong. So now the bodega worker is suing the police department and the DA's office. Now, the problem is that when the city first arrested the bodega worker, in their complaint, they made it seem like the bodega worker was the criminal. They made it seem like the person attacking the bodega worker was the person who was the victim. Now, this led to the bodega worker getting a $500,000 bail and essentially being imprisoned for 6 days for defending his life. Now, remember, New York City is a place that eliminated bail. So the person who was attacked is the one now that has to pay bail, not the criminal who attacked him. It's crazy. It's crazy. Here is the bodega worker's attorney now laying out his lawsuit against the city for deceptively writing up a criminal complaint that was different than what the video actually showed. Check it out.
Jose Alba, he meets with the DA's office after he makes the arrest to draft the criminal complaint. And you read this and it makes it seem like the person that attacked Jose was a victim and Jose was aggressive. But then when DA Bragg got all the pressure from the mayor.
When we all got to see the video and understand what
Right.
happened,
Yeah, he said we're still
changed his mind pretty quickly.
Right, he said we're still investigating, we're looking into it. And, you know, they should investigate before they make the arrest instead of just having him
with
sit
this
right there.
lawsuit, what is your goal? Is your goal to seek monetary reward back to your client, or is your goal to change the policy, or both?
Now, his lawyer went on to say that Bragg is treating people differently and he's hurting people. Meanwhile, other people are committing repeated crimes and he keeps giving them a break. We can't keep pitting ourselves against each other on the basis of race, because the complaint is essentially saying Bragg was making these arguments and the police were protecting this criminal just because he was black. And remember, Alba, the bodega worker, was held on Rikers Island for nearly a week before he was freed. And his bail was at $250,000. So he was stuck. He couldn't get out. And New York State reformed bail. So that's the most insane part about this. The victim was the one who was stuck in jail because of bail. But eventually he got out. Now, the city is not talking. They're saying, hey, we're not going to comment on this. And the spokesman for the DA's office says he's not going to comment. But what do you think about this story? Do you think Mr. Alba has a case? He's essentially saying that the city lied, arrested him, didn't even do an investigation, and it was all based on the race of his attacker. Let me know how you feel in the comment section. Let me know if you think this lawsuit has any legs. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you next time. Peace.